Tensions are high. British soldiers march through the icy streets of Boston. A crowd is forming, and angry colonists hurl insults, snowballs, and even chunks of ice. The air crackles with rage. What began as a street protest quickly turns into a riot. Then,
Gunshot!
gunshots. In a heartbeat, blood stains the snow, and history takes a deadly turn. This is the Boston Massacre, an event that would shake the colonies, divide a people, and pull America one step closer to revolution. To better understand the Boston Massacre, let's discuss the events leading up to it. Only a few years earlier, Parliament imposed the Stamp Act of 1765, requiring colonists to pay for a government-issued stamp on documents, newspapers, and any paper products. Great Britain was met with much backlash. There were boycotts and riots throughout the colonies. Though the act was later repealed, Parliament lost trust from the colonies. Then came the Townshend Acts of 1767. This time, Britain taxed common goods, glass, paper, paint, lead, and tea, without asking the colonists. The revenue was meant to pay royal governors and judges, removing financial control from colonial legislatures. To British officials, it was practical governance, but to the colonists, it was a tyrannical overreach. They believed that without representation in Parliament, such taxes were illegal. This taxation without representation was one of the leading motivations for anger towards Great Britain. As protests turned more aggressive, Parliament responded by sending thousands of British troops into Boston in 1768. Their goal was to enforce tax collection and restore order, but their very presence only deepened the crisis. What started as a tax dispute had become a much greater fight over who held power in the colonies, and just how far Britain would go to keep it. The Boston Massacre is a significant event in U.S. history that is remembered with controversy. To fully understand all parties involved and their perspectives, this documentary will give a brief analysis of two sources from the time of the Boston Massacre. First, an account of the British captain Thomas Preston, and second, an engraving by Paul Revere of the event. Captain Thomas Preston, the British officer in charge on the night of the massacre, recounts his perspective of the event. In his account, he describes that a British sentry at the custom house was guarding the king's money. He was surrounded and threatened by an angry mob. Preston then ordered 12 soldiers to go support the sentry. He even claims the soldiers were not initially loaded with ammunition. Then some colonists harassed the soldiers with clubs, snowballs, and ice. This news interview includes Preston's own words from his account.
Captain, did you give an order to fire?
Nay, so far was I from intending the death of any person that I suffered the troops to go to the spot where the unhappy affair took place without any loading in their pieces. On my asking the soldiers why they fired without orders, they said they heard the word fire and supposed it came from me. This might be the case, as many of the mob called out, "Fire! Fire!" but I assured the men that I gave no such order.
As you can see, Preston insists he never gave the order to fire, but in the chaos, shots were fired and 5 colonists fell. News of the massacre spread fast, but it was Paul Revere who gave the moment its most powerful image. Just days after the massacre, he engraved The Bloody Massacre in King Street. In it, he tells a different story than Preston's account. The engraving portrays a firing line of British soldiers firing in unison upon the seemingly innocent citizens of Boston. Captain Preston is seen raising a sword, signifying that he gave a direct order to fire upon the civilians. The engraving includes a poem that describes the British soldiers and says,
"While faithless Preston and his savage bands with murderous rancor stretch their bloody hands, like fierce barbarians grinning o'er their prey, approve the carnage and enjoy the day."
It is clear that this powerful work of art focuses on the innocence of the civilians and the brutality of the British. This powerful wartime propaganda fueled colonial outrage and united patriots in their cause against a common enemy. In conclusion, the Boston Massacre was a key turning point in the relationship between the colonies and Great Britain. While the colonists were already burdened and furious with taxes, the Boston Massacre was a clear sign of brutal tyranny. This triggered a widespread cry for change that spread throughout the colonies. To better understand the context and perspectives involved, this documentary studied Captain Preston's account and Paul Revere's engraving. Through these accounts, we see a glimpse of the complexities that led to the American Revolution.